Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Robbie Basel Show video. Yes, it's finally back. I know the Robbie Basel Show has been missing for about 2 to 3 months, but don't worry. I know I'm uploading on a Wednesday, but there's a reason for that. My schedule has just been destroying me, but and it'll probably be like that for the rest of this month as of right now. And I don't know what the summer plans would be for this show. Hopefully, we find something consistent, either being Tuesdays or Mondays, negative Saturday. Who knows? We will have this show back. I will have this show back right here for you on RBTV. Make sure to like and subscribe before we start. But real quick, thank you guys so much for all who were able to tune into the stream on Sunday. I know the game sucked, and that's a very popular complaint, was that the game was terrible. We'll talk about that in a minute. Also today, we're talking Masters. We're talking golf today. Baseball is getting a quick update. Hockey is being saved for tomorrow. We just don't talk about NBA until the playoffs on this channel because I personally don't like the NBA. That's just been my thoughts on it for a long time. But we got F1 to talk about. We're going to Bahrain this week. And we also have March Madness. And that is where we are starting today with March. Oh, in the Champions League. Can't forget about the Champions League. But we begin today with March Madness. And the Final Four, which we discussed on Friday, which was like on the Footy Fridays, Robbie Basel show mashup, I guess you could call it. And that was insane. The Final Four was an absolute masterclass. And we begin with a recap of Florida against Auburn. That game was incredible. I think the way we could discuss the last weekend of college basketball is the battle of the bottle jobs. And that's who it's essentially who wanted to lose because other than Florida, no one really wanted to. I mean, it was Florida and Houston in the beginning, but then Houston bottled in the national championship, and we'll talk about that in a second. Florida, Auburn were really good. And I gotta admit it, Auburn were really good in this game, but Florida were just better. Was just better. You had Walter Clayton launching shots from the opposite side of the country. Maybe it was from Canada. Maybe you could say it was from London, England. Who knows where the shots would be thrown up from? They just went in. And that's the best way I could word it. Walter Clayton's inevitable. He had 30, I believe he had 30 plus in that game, and they won. Florida wins. They were able to go to the national championship like I predicted. And it just felt inevitable. And it was inevitable that Florida were going to win this game. Let's take a look. But it wasn't, I gotta say this. Auburn, how do I word it? Auburn were leading by like 9 or 10. I think it was even more at some points. It was the most they were leading by was about, I think like 10 maybe, or whatever the hell it was. It went from Auburn being up a lot to Florida winning it in the end. I mean, when you at the peak of Auburn being the favorite to win the game, it was a 9 point game in favor of Auburn with about 18 minutes to go. But Florida were able to come from behind. They're able to do their job. Walter Clayton, as mentioned, he had 34. Chinyalu, I don't know where the hell he was at. Thomas Howe, I talked about him. He was awesome. Condon had 1 point. I don't know what the hell that was about. And then Will Richard did nothing, but Martin and Clayton Jr. combined for 51 of Florida's 79 points and a 79-73 win. Broom, Baker, Mazzara, and Jones all had double-digit points, but it does not matter as Walter Clayton is inevitable and Florida went to the Natty. And they went out and they had to play Houston because and I might get demonetized right now. What the hell is this? What the hell did Duke do? Like, are they cursed? Like, does the devil actually exist? Because they cursed Duke in this game. Cooper Flag did all he could. He had 27. Kong Nepal, I don't know where the hell he was in the second half. Tyrese Proctor, I think, was all the way back in Durham, North Carolina, back in North Carolina already. Because Duke, who should have won this game, absolutely bottled it in the end because Houston came back from like a massive deficit in a minute. And we aren't talking about another activity that people do on what feels like a whatever the hell basis. You guys know what I'm talking about. My hair. No, we're going to that backwards hat rest of the day. Backwards hat for the rest of the video. I'm tired of looking like tired of doing that. But back to the point, Houston, we have a problem because Houston came back from whatever the hell that deficit at the end. Let's walk you through what the deficit was. With about a minute to go, Duke was up, I think, 6 or 7 with a minute to go. And we had the technical foul or whatever it was. And then we had Emmanuel Sharp hit a three after Conkinental had a shot blocked. Then Sion James turned it over. And then Tugler made a tip in, and that made it a 1 point game. Uh, Tyrese Proctor gets fouled. He misses the free throw. Um, and then freaking Jawan Roberts, stud, love him. Got fouled by Cooper Flag. Two free throws are good. Duke calls timeout. Cooper Flag, who went one on one with some dude, did a turnaround fadeaway. It should have went in, I'll be honest. I thought it was going in because it was such a Cooper Flag-esque shot. But it didn't. And then LJ Cryer gets fouled, makes two free throws, game's over. Houston wins. And then they went to the national championship, a game Duke should have won very comfortably. They were dominant for most of the game, but Houston came from behind and they just found a way to get the job done. And then they were able to go to the Natty, which was settled between Duke and not Duke and Houston, Florida and Houston. Um, I believe, and this is how I'll word this. Florida played an Uno reverse card on Houston, and you're probably asking, Robbie, what the hell do you mean by that? There's no Uno reverse cards in basketball. Well, apparently there might be because if you look at the national title game. Houston had this game on lock, and then Florida just came from behind and win. Walter Clayton is inevitable, but not for the way you're thinking of, actually. The big player in this game was Will Richard, 18 points. Walter Clayton only had 11, but you can't. It's very tough to shoot there. He'll get a little bit of a pass. Alex Condon actually decided to play in this game. He had double digits as well. Houston had one player in double digits this whole game, and it was LJ Cryer who kind of went off. He had 19 points. The key for me was that one, Juwan Roberts shot 3 for 13. Manuel Sharp, 3 of 11. I don't know what the hell that's about. I know Walter Clayton shot bad. Before y'all talk about me glazing in the comments, he shot 3 of 10. So shut up, chat. But let's go through how this game ended. Well, we're gonna go back to about the 13:47 mark. It's an 11-point game. Florida can't score. Walter Clayton hasn't made a field goal yet, and they really haven't done anything on offense. But in the latter stages, it was Elijah Martin, it was Thomas Howe, um, before LJ Cryer was doing things, and Florida decided to really turn it up on offense. Walter Clayton drawing it and won. Multiple other big moments with Condon, with Aberdeen, and everything was going Florida's way. Clayton Jr. hits a three. We are tied with 3 minutes left after Florida was down double digits at one point in this half. And then Florida just turned it on. You had big free throws by Will Richard, who made both. So we go back to being tied. But the biggest play of the game, um, 46 seconds left. Elijah Martin gets fouled by Tugler. He makes both free throws, Florida up one. And you're probably wondering how this game ended. Well, Houston turned it over with about 26 seconds left. Florida hits one free throw, 2 point game, and Emmanuel Sharp has an opportunity to take a three for the win. But Walter Clayton's defense, he timed his jump perfectly. Sharp went up for a three. He dropped the ball. He can't pick it up again because it will be a travel. No one goes for it on Houston. That's the game. Very unorthodox way to win it, but Florida wins. Florida, your national champions. Florida. Unbelievable. It was a tournament that didn't have a lot of upsets in the beginning, and it started off pretty slow. To summarize, I actually thought this tournament was excellent. You had teams that should win basketball games. You had your okay share of upsets, Drake. You had UC San Diego almost beat Michigan early on. You had BYU causing problems. Just to name a few teams that could cause some issues. Let's actually look at the bracket. Let's look at the final bracket. because I want to like. Also, by the way, shout out to ESPN. There's this March Madness pain index. I've never seen this before until right now. That's brilliant. Pain index. Love it. So you go through the whole tournament. The big upset early, I mean, there really wasn't one. Colorado State beating Memphis was pretty cool. Drake winning. I actually had both. I had at least had one of the two. I didn't have the Drake win. I really went back down on Missouri. You had a couple eight, nine over eights. You had the big one though, and a lot of people picked High Point, but then they bottled it to Purdue, and they weren't really in it. But then we go to the second round. You'd St. John's. Thank God. St. John's lose to Arkansas. You had what was another good one? BYU, as I mentioned, they went out and beat Wisco. Purdue beat I almost forgot. We have some awards. I forgot about the awards segment because we were supposed to do it last year and I forgot. Um, we have player of the tournament, upset of the tournament, disappointment, and a couple others. Upset of the tournament, I'm going with McNeese over Clemson. Now, you're probably thinking, Robbie, there has to have been a better upset, and I'll be dead honest with y'all. There really isn't. I mean, St. John's, I guess, but St. John's, we all knew what their flaw was. Clemson just got outmatched by a team that's essentially turning into North Carolina State. Like I was in love with this McNeese team. They were really good. They were great on the boards. They sucked in the second half against Clemson. They should have lost, but they found a way to win. And Clemson, a team that a lot of people had going far, lost to McNeese. And I finally got my McNeese pick right now. They're all going to go to North Carolina State, and I'll back North Carolina State under Will Wade. It's going to be very, very exciting. Disappointment of the tournament goes to St. John's. Um, a lot of people had them going very far. I had them going very far, and then they went out and lost to Arkansas. I mean, I don't know how that happens. Um, Other nominees for disappointment of the tournament, we got where are they? Where are they? Oh, Iowa State. That's another one. Iowa State, very popular pick for that one. Disappointment. I mean. I mean, you could say Kentucky because they should have beat Tennessee on paper, but then they just got outplayed. Michigan State's another one. I mean, they should have been a Final Four team. I really didn't back Auburn at all, and Auburn then went to the Final Four, so that's on me, I guess. Uh, Biggest surprise was Auburn not bottling it. I thought they were going to be really, really bad because of the form they were on going into the tournament. Apparently, that's not relevant anymore because they went out and won four games. They beat Alabama State, Creighton, Michigan, Michigan State, and then lost to Florida. And there you go. Um, what's another one? Um, Game that no one talked about enough that should be talked about more. There's a couple for this. And there's a lot of good ones. I'm gonna go with Baylor. I mean, Baylor beating Mississippi State at the time wasn't that significant. That game was absurd. St. Mary's Vanderbilt's also a good one. For a game no one talks about that should. Um, Houston Gonzaga, another good one. There's a lot of games that you could have picked for this, but Baylor's win over Mississippi State is not being talked about enough for how crazy of a game that was. So shout out Baylor. They win that award. Um, Finally, game of the tournament and player of the tournament. Player of the tournament is Walter Clayton. Game of the tournament, national championship. I think there's no doubt about it. Um, the finalists for this were the national championship, the final four between Houston and Duke. That final four game was utter madness. Um, One other nominee I also almost had was Michigan State and Ole Miss. That game was kind of crazy. Houston Purdue is another good one. But Houston's defense won them that game. But yeah, the national championship was game of the tournament. And I got team of the tournament, obviously Florida, and player of the tournament, Walter Clayton. Those are the March Madness awards. Now I can stop talking about this because we didn't talk about it enough. Real quick, we're gonna just briefly go over F1 because if you didn't watch the race, you missed pretty much nothing. Max won, understandably. Um, And that will send us to Bahrain. Now let's take real quick a look at the championship. Um, Before we head to what used to be the opening race of the season, is now where we are in week four, whatever, race week four. And it's the Gulf Air Bahrain GP. Now, Bahrain, so we just had Suzuka. Race was, I'll say it, was atrocious. Nothing happened. We take a quick look at our top 10. It's Norris, Verstappen, Piastri, George Russell. Kimi Antonelli is fifth. Antonelli fifth on 45 points. Actually, Antonelli fifth on 30 points. I was just reading George Russell's numbers. Antonelli fifth on 30 points already. Fair play. Leclerc, Albon. Albon over Hamilton. That's a shocker. Then Haas's Esteban Ocon. And then Lance Stroll. Even though he did not score points in Japan. Then we have Hulkenberg. Shout out to Sauber. Behrman. Isaac Hadjar had 4 points in Japan. Shout out to him. Sonoda had 3 points back in China. And then Carlos Sainz, through three races, has 1 point. So, Rome, you were wrong about Sainz, but I was wrong about Albon and Liam Lawson. So, that will send us to Bahrain, a track that has cursed drivers over the years. Um, and that's been like the big theme about it. Remember, Bahrain used to be the starting track of the first track of the season for the last couple of years. For a while, it's felt like. But here we are in Bahrain this week. Now, what are my expectations? There's a lot of good stories to talk about in entering a race like this. One is the McLarens. They were the fastest car, I believe, going into the weekend, but Red Bull just had them beat. You could talk about the strategy blunder possibly with McLaren, a strategy by them that made absolutely no sense. You had Lando doing really well, but they pitted him early. I don't understand that. Um, but I don't I just don't get it. And that really could have cost them the win. You had Lando also driving in the grass with Max, just going side by side. That was the only entertaining part of the whole race was that pit stop. That's a problem. Speaking of not a lot of problems, I mean, hypothetical, if you were in like Bizarro world, I guess, are Red Bull, of course, switching drivers from Liam Lawson to Yuki Tsunoda, then Yuki getting out qualified by Lawson. Works for me, boss man. But after the driver swap, Tsunoda showed some quality. He did not score points as mentioned, but you saw a lot of positives from Yuki. One, he didn't qualify last. That's already a positive for them. Um, but you got to give both credit to both of the drivers. They handled their situation while they were different. They handled it really well, and that's one thing that you could say is a big positive, especially from Lawson, because you go from that really good Red Bull team. You go to the V car, which the V car has looked really, really good. It was like the V car I was hoping for last year. Now it's happening this year, which sure, I guess. Um, but both of them have showed some signs of encouragement. I know Lawson dropped the 17th, but that's not a track that really works for VCarb. Both of them have an interesting learning curve, both with their new cars, obviously. Um, but now I know people didn't have Verstappen winning Japan on their bingo card, but now they go to Bahrain, a track that Max is really, really good at. And now we get to see what they can really do. Though there's a lot of teams that have looked really good at this track this year, especially during testing, that we're watching out for this week. And there's four teams specifically. It's the big four. I'm very intrigued after the double DQ and the not as well response by freaking Ferrari. Like, can they start to do something, please? I know that Claire got fourth and Hamilton got seventh, but we know they're doing something new to the floor of that Ferrari. I'm intrigued to see what that upgrade brings to the team. I don't know what to expect from them. They're like that. They're somehow they're the wild card this year. It's not Mercedes, which I don't know how to feel about that. They're because remember they got double DQ'd in China, which sure. Um, they got rejected. I'm not making a tariff joke today. I know that won't be responded to very well by the comments. Um, I know, but we also know there's a couple different changes for FP1, and this race could be utter madness. So, what are my predictions for Bahrain? Let's go through my top five projections for qualifying this week. P1, I'm going with Max. I'm going Max. He's dominated this track in the past. It's a track that Red Bull has been good at for so long in recent years. I'm going with Max winning. I know he had that mechanical failure. I don't know if was it last year when that car just didn't work? Was it last year, or the year before? I don't remember. Actually no, that must have been a couple years ago. Couple years ago. Wow, I feel so long ago now when Max didn't win Bahrain. What was it? A couple years? Yeah, it's a few years ago now. Jeez. But Max won Bahrain last year. I have Max going on pole with the track he's been good at for so long. I have him P1. P2 in quali. Oh, that's so tough. Who's been good here in the past? I know Leclerc and Russell have been good here. P2, I'm going Oscar Piastri though. I'm going with Oscar. I know it's a track that McLaren doesn't do good at typically, but how dominant their car can be, I'm going to go with McLaren there. P3, I'm gonna go with Charles Leclerc. I know, like we said, he's won at this track, I believe, before. It's a Ferrari that has to perform. I think with the way they might be. I mean, someone claimed they were sandbagging, but they need something to go their way. And I think getting a good start to this weekend will be very crucial for them. And P4, I have Lando Norris, with P5 being George Russell, and by the way, P6, I have Lewis Hamilton. I think that order just makes the most sense. We know Lando hasn't performed as well as he should have over the last I mean, during the last race. It's been a very interesting start to the season for McLaren, and I think Piastri being in front could open the door to Piastri possibly taking the lead in the championship if the race goes his way. Now, who do I have winning the race? Early prediction. I have Max winning. I think it's pretty boring. I have Max winning. I have Charles Leclerc second. I'm going with the same top two that were at qualifying last year. I have them as the same top two this time for the race. That Ferrari needs to prove to me something, and I think this is the time for them to do it. I'm going to go with Ferrari second, and then P3. I'm going to go Piastri, four Norris. I'm going to go five Hamilton. I'm going to go six Russell. I know not a lot of changes there, but it's a very interesting weekend. So my top six are Max, then Leclerc, then Piastri, Norris, followed by Hamilton, Russell. That's the top six. Antonelli seventh, by the way. So shout out to him. He's going to get points again. Um, Also watch out for Aston Martin. They've been good here in the past as well. But F1 could be madness. Not a lot more to talk about today. We're keeping it short, but we're going to go now to the Prem because why not? And shout out to everyone who joined the stream. Again, shout out everyone who joined the stream. Um, the game sucked. That's all you need to know. Let's talk about it. So first off, we Arsenal. Oh, this team is killing me. They drew Everton again. Arsenal drew Everton again. Naturally, they drew Everton 1-1. Nothing happened. Arsenal scored, then conceded a penalty inside of a minute into the second half. It should not have been a penalty. It should have been a free kick outside the box. Everyone knows it. Every analyst agreed. Everton converted. That was that. And game ended 1-1. We had a big result for Palace. They went out and beat Brighton by a score that I said was going to happen, 2-1. Shout out Brighton for bottling it again in the Battle of the Birds. We had West Ham and Bournemouth play the most West Ham Bournemouth match ever. It was a 2-2, and naturally, Nicholas Füllkrug finally decided to play football and score. I know, foreign concept to players I picked to be good. I know. Stop telling me this. Füllkrug and Bowen scored after Evan Nielsen opened the game. Then Evan Nielsen scores again, 2-2 draw. That's that. Big shout out to Wolves. They went out and beat Ipswich, which is essentially we now know our three relegation teams. With about 6 or 7 matches to, geez, We're heading into match day 32. We pretty much know who's getting relegated, and that'll be Ipswich, Leicester, and we already know one team that's definitely getting relegated, and that is Southampton, who have lost to Tottenham. Tottenham beat them 3-1 naturally. Though Tottenham did celebrate it like it's an achievement. They beat Southampton. Okay. And that was that. Aston Villa with a big 3 points. They have cut down the Forest, courtesy of 2 goals in a span of 3 minutes from Rogers and Mallon. Silva scored one back for Nottingham, but it was not enough. 2-1 win for Villa. We covered the Saturday game. Sunday, we had a snooze fest, a double header snooze fest on NBC. We'll get back to that in a second. How about Fulham? Shout out Fulham. From Sessegnon, Iwobi, and Rodrigo Muniz lead the way for a 3-2 win for Fulham. Like this team is really. This is the surprise of the season. Fulham are just out of a European. They're 3 points out of a European place. Fulham. Fulham. How about it? Craven Cottage is a vibe. They've won 13 games this season. They've gotten points of 22 in 22 of their 31 matches. Fair play to them. They've been really good. Anthony Robinson has been great at fullback. I think he's been like their player of the season, and it's not been close. They've been really good as a unit, and with Jedi out at left back, he's been excellent. For Fulham, let's go on to our double snooze fest. We had back-to-back nil-nils on NBC and USA. You had Chelsea play Brentford 0-0. Not a lot to take through in this game. Brentford got a point. Chelsea didn't want to play. Neither did Manchester United and Manchester City. Neither of them wanted to play either, as that game ends 0-0. My analysis of that game, since I commentated it, I think I could speak about this well. It didn't feel like a derby. I think a lot of the analysts were right. No one wanted to win. We didn't see any like tomfoolery. Manchester United should have won that game because they were dominant in multiple areas. Man City had some opportunities, but they really didn't do anything with them. If you create chances, you have to capitalize in a derby match. That game was so dead for like 90% of it. It was horrendous. I lost 2 hours of my day from that. I could have been working on a media project or something. But my God, the game ends 0-0. Whoop did it all my days. That's about I mean, Alejandro Garnacho had like 5 chances. Bruno Fernandes, what the hell was that? Shout out Onana for making a couple big saves. Ederson as well. Both of them were really good. If I had to give a man of the match, I go to no one. Um, I'll be dead honest, because that game was crap. But who would I give man of the match to? I mean, is there really an answer? I mean, Kevin De Bruyne was solid. I mean, I got to give him that. Both defenses were really good. Mason Mount was okay after coming on. Hoyland was just bad. Casemiro, like the trio of Casemiro, Bruno, and Alejandro Garnacho really surprised me. I didn't know what to expect, but they were all good. Man of the match, I'm gonna go with Ederson for man of the match, making a couple big time saves, keeping Man City, keeping the scoreline at 0-0. Also, shout out Newcastle. They beat Leicester 3-0 on Monday, and they did it all in the first half. Brace from Jacob Murphy inside of 12 minutes, and then third powers Newcastle through. Take a quick look at the table. Liverpool, despite losing, are still 11 points clear. Then it's Nottingham Forest, Chelsea, and Newcastle, who are tied actually on points. Man City drop out of the top five. They go to sixth because Newcastle won. Then it's Villa at seventh. Then Fulham and Brighton eighth and ninth. Then it's Bournemouth who complete Brighton and Bournemouth who complete your top 10. Then it's Palace, Brentford, Man United, Tottenham, Everton, West Ham, and Wolves are the teams in survival. And then the three relegation teams are Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton. So not a lot of changes this week. However, we saw arguably the best result of the weekend, of the week, yesterday on Tuesday. And that is what we're talking about now. It's the Champions League. I would play this song, but we get demonetized. And we have Arsenal against Real Madrid, and I have Real Madrid win this game. Um, Fortunately enough, the reverse jinx worked, and Arsenal went out and won this game 3-0. Arsenal struggles to beat Everton, struggles to beat a team like a Wolves, like Brentford. I don't know. Tottenham. Actually, no, we beat Tottenham. Who else sucks that we can't beat? There's a couple of them, aren't there? I'm like I could list like a bunch of teams that we can't beat, and then we just beat Real Madrid 3-0. Works for me, boss man. The fact that Real Madrid had only three shots on target, and the fact that this game could have ended 6-0, no joke, this game could have ended like 5 or 6-0. And the reason I say that is that Thibaut Courtois is actually still really good. There were multiple chances early on where Arsenal were just better. They had chances in front of goal, but freaking Courtois makes double saves and triple saves like it's no one's business, and that's that. Unfortunately, Free Kick FC scores on I mean, Set Piece FC scored on a free kick from Declan Rice. Okay. No, I can get behind it. I can get behind it. I'm wearing the kit today. I can get behind it. Not really. Declan Rice scores his first two free kick goals as a member of Arsenal. And we this to open the scoring. Mikel Merino apparently is apparently our striker. Okay, I mean he scored to make it 3-0. Camavinga got sent off. He's kicked out of the next leg. Arsenal are on the complete front foot heading to the Santiago Bernabeu, a game where, like I said, Arsenal should have won this game 5-0 against Real Madrid. Real Madrid should have lost that game 5-0. If not for Courtois, this game could have been a massive blowout and would have really could have sent shockwaves throughout the entire European continent in terms of in the footballing continent. That's ridiculous. The fact that this game ended the way it did with Arsenal, this team, Arsenal, Bottle Job FC, some call them, Bottle Job FC goes out and wins this game 3-0. Arsenal, 3-0 over Real Madrid. Unbelievable performance. Gotta give a quick shout out to David Ray as well. He made a couple key saves. Um, Kiwior didn't get killed at left center back. I'm still worried about that for the second leg, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. But Arsenal, 3-0. Arsenal, 3-0. I'm behind it all day, every day. Other match was another real actually was really good too. I keep forgetting what this match was. But it was Inter going to Munich to take on Bayern. And it was a match that opened up with the scoring from Lautaro Martinez. Lautaro Martinez has been very good for Inter throughout this season. But then Thomas Muller, who we all know is leaving at the end of the season for Bayern, scores in the 85th minute to make it 1-1, and we all thought it was over. Unfortunately, for Bayern, Pastaland is inevitable as the freaking Italians have only gone and done it again. And who scores this time? It's freaking Fratesi out of nowhere, who I forgot he was even on the team. He played 16 minutes. He took one shot and scored. That's all you need. It's the Italian side, Inter Milan, win on the road at Bayern to be a goal up going into the second leg on next Wednesday. And one, unbelievable work from Inter Milan. They were, if you look at the numbers, I thought they were the better team, even though the shots and shots on target don't justify it. Bayern had opportunities but couldn't capitalize. Inter, with the few that they had, did. And that's the difference in the Champions League. If you get two opportunities and you score both of them, but your opposition gets like 64 and they score on zero and score on none of them, the game still ends 2-0. It's not like it ends 64-2 just because of the chances they created. No, it still ends 2-0 because the other side doesn't put the ball in the back of the net. That's what we're seeing from Bayern. If you look at the shots on target, it was 7-4. But I really believe that if you look at um attacking chances. I think it was like I think it was key chances were like 5-2, and Inter scored on both of them. Fratesi scores the winner, as Inter can capitalize more than Bayern apparently, as the winner of their matchup will take on Barca or Borussia Dortmund. And that is the matchups that are going on today. Quick predictions, because we don't want to keep everyone here very long. Um, First leg, I think I talked about this already. I have Barca beating Dortmund by whatever the score I had, and I had PSG beating Villa at home. We'll see how the rest of the tie goes. Imagine Arsenal has to play PSG again. The battle of the bottle jobs in the Champions League, for real. I mean, because PSG doesn't win the tournament, Arsenal doesn't like to win anything. So, I mean, imagine that in the semifinal. Winner will I mean, the winner would have to play, I would believe, Barca or Inter. That's ridiculous. This Champions League format, I know I wasn't for it in the beginning of the year. It's really grown on me, and I'm actually all for it. I'm interested to see though if like they find a way to bring in more quality into the tournament, which we'll see how that goes in the latter stages. But for the first one, not bad, not too shabby. So far at least. Arsenal beat Real Madrid, a team that I said was going unbeaten until this round anyway. Unbelievable stuff. Quick baseball update because we like baseball on this channel too. Um, the biggest story right now is the National League West, as expected. It started off with the Dodgers and the Padres going undefeated. The Padres currently lead that division by half a game. The Dodgers are in third. That's the first time they'll be there all last time they'll be there all season. It's despite being 9-4. The biggest question mark for teams right now, the biggest concern are the Atlanta Braves. They're 2-8. Sure. The Mets are leading that division. They'll probably blow it in June because you know what team this is. In the Central, the Cubs are deciding to play baseball. Good for them. I really had my doubts about Chicago. I really did. Because their bullpen is the equivalent of the Marlins. They suck. And somehow the Cubs have figured it out. I don't get it either. They got destroyed by the Cubs. We didn't know what to expect from them when they came back to the States, but they've looked really good since. They've won, what is it, 9 of 13 or 9 of 12 since they've come back from Japan. That's great. Good job, Cubs. I'm proud of them. I'm happy to see them do good. Um, Biggest story in the National League, Paul Skeens is kind of falling off, though. He had one bad start, and the Pirates are 4-8. Concerns galore. Um, Standings overall, the Mets lead the National League East at 8-3. The bullpen has really saved them. The Phillies are second half game behind. Then it's the Nats and the Marlins. That's something. And then Atlanta is last at 2-8. Smiles galore for me. National League Central, the Cubs lead a game and a half over the Brewers. Then it's the Cardinals, then the Reds and the Pirates. NL West, it's the Padres, as mentioned, leading with the Giants and Dodgers half game behind. Then it's the Diamondbacks and the Rockies, as somewhat expected. I don't know. AL, biggest story for them are the Blue Jays and Angels. Now, before I say anything, slow your roll on both of them, particularly the Angels. They've played what? Okay, I talked about this with someone this morning. They've played the Rays, the White Sox. Didn't they play like the Nationals or something? No, they haven't played the Nats yet. They played the White Sox, the Cardinals, the Guardians, and the Rays. Relax. They still are not good. Relax, people. They're still bad. I know they're playing the Rays tonight on Wednesday and tomorrow on Thursday, but chill. Seriously, chill out about this. The AL West is still wide open. I know the Astros have been god awful. The Mariners have been terrible too. The A's are right where they should be, and the Rangers are also where they should be record wise, but not placement wise because the Angels are good for like 3 weeks every year. Um, but the Angels lead the West ahead of the Rangers, Astros, A's, and Mariners. If you look at the AL East, the Blue Jays are the big news story right now because one, they just extended Vlad Guerrero Jr. to a 14-year contract. 14 years. Jesus Christ. For Vlad Guerrero, making about 500 million. Good for him. He should not have been paid that. I don't know how taxes work in Canada. I don't know how much he gets taxed on that. That's a good question for the chat. How much does Vlad Guerrero get taxed? I don't know. I just kind of want to know it. Um, but the Blue Jays lead the division ahead of the Yankees, Red Sox. The Orioles are 5-7 with the concerns I had for them, and then the Rays are just the Rays at this point. AL Central, the big surprise has been Cleveland's lack of offense. They've been terrible, though they were on the road for like I believe their first nine or something like that. So I'll give them a little bit of a pass. The Twins can't do anything right. They're 3-8. The White Sox are where they should be. A 2-8 tie for the worst record with the Atlanta Braves after the White Sox last week. I think it was they beat someone 9-0, and I think it was the Angels. So this start of the season's been really odd. Um, but yeah, AL Central, it's the Tigers, the Royals, the Guardians, Twins, and the White Sox. So baseball already kicking off. Good for the baseball. By the way, a couple weeks, or pretty soon, hopefully, we're gonna have NHL playoff predictions, NBA playoff predictions, all that kicking up here on the channel. We're going to review my season predictions as well because I know the Rangers have been bad, and we're saving that for tomorrow's episode of Ball Knowers on WIR Radio. Also, you can check out WIR Radio Mixler for what's now going to likely be a doubleheader for baseball on Friday and one game on Sunday. I know I'll be on the Sunday game. I might be on the second game of the Friday doubleheader. Make sure to follow my Instagram for more information. Done with that. All right, golf time. Masters. Welcome to the Masters. I know this is my favorite tournament. We predict all. If you've been a fan of the Robbie Basel show or RBTV as a whole, first of all, shout out to you guys. We pick, or if you're new here, I picked my predicted. We're changing it up this year. I'm going with my favorite. We're going with two favorites, two sleepers, and someone who definitely won't win. Let's have some fun. So there's multiple people who are being back this year. Let's go over favorite number one. There's so many good ones. Um, my first favorite to win. No, hold on. Let me get the actual betting odds up here. And while I'm doing this, make sure once again to like and subscribe. Would really appreciate it. Let's see. Whose time is it to win the Masters tournament? There are a lot of people for this, and I really want to back some of them more than others. Um, First favorite, do I want to pick Scotty? I want to be original, so I'm keeping Scotty for something else. Um, My first player to win it is Colin Morikawa, and the way he can ball strike, the way he can play, this is a kind of a course that could suit him. He's doesn't hit it the longest, which could be a little bit of a concern at times. But the way how pure he can strike the irons, the way he can control his drives, I'm gonna back Colin Morikawa as favorite number one. Favorite number two, and I gotta pick someone who can hit the ball long. This is where it gets really dicey because I mean everyone knows I pick Xander a lot, and I'm not picking him. I'm not picking him, chat. Relax. Um, Favorite number two, I'm going with Justin Thomas because why the hell not? I once again I know not original, but it's good. I think it could be fun. Picking someone like Justin Thomas, a guy who's been here a lot. I think him winning a Masters would be really, really cool. I know everyone's gonna pick, like I said, he's gonna pick Scotty, he's gonna pick Rory, Auberg, Ron, DeChambeau, whatever. I'm going with guys who I know can most of the time control drives and can strike irons really well. So I'm going with my two favorites being Morikawa and Justin Thomas. Um, People who I think will, no, we gotta go with our wild cards. And we're changing it up this year. I know last year the pick was everyone 100 or to one or above. There's one that I really want to pick. Two actually that I want to pick. That's Minwoo Lee and Robert McIntyre. Two people that, by the way, just you could definitely watch out for. One's at 45, Minwoo 40 to 1, Bob 45 to 1. I had Bob McIntyre is one of the picks, but unfortunately his stock for some reason just dropped dramatically, dropped drastically. In a positive way for him to go to down to only 40 or 45 to 1. Um, is there really a wild card this year? There really isn't. And that kind of sucks because this used to be my favorite time. Max Homa could be underrated. I think Homa at 150 to 1 is kind of nuts. Horschel, Rye, Thomas Dietrich, he's been good in the Masters before. He's at 125 to 1. Um, I'm gonna go with Sam Burns at 100 to 1. I'm gonna go with Cam Young at 90 to 1. As the two wild cards. Someone who I don't think will win, Bryson. Hear me out. Bryson and Rory will not win it. I'm too confident in that course just pissing off Bryson and how much you have to you can overthink every shot there. The Jordan Spieth way, and I'm sorry, Jordan. I love Jordan Spieth, but that's just like the comparison I'd make is Jordan, like me, overthinks a lot of shots, as does Bryson. I know Bryson hits it like 16 miles and swings it and hits it at nearly 200 miles an hour ball speed, but Bryson he's been good at majors. We all know that. But the Masters just throws him off with the contour of the greens, whether it be the really odd second shots for some of the holes. Um, but man, I'm just not confident enough in Bryson to just do enough to win the whole thing. It just not something I'm being intrigued about. A lot of analysts are liking Ludwig Aberg, who was the runner-up last year, and I kind of get why. Um, his game just hasn't been good since the West Coast swing. I think everyone knows that, and if you're not coming into the tournament in form, that could be a concern. So Aberg's not a popular one. I'm not picking Rory because I'm just gonna be trying to be more original, though my top 10 lock is Scotty Scheffler, and I think everyone will do that. So my favorites to win, Thomas and Morikawa. Wild cards of Cameron Young and Sam Burns. Person who definitely won't win it, Bryson, top 10 lock, Scheffler. Tournament will be fun. We'll go over it all next week. But because I got class, I wish I can go into it more. But that will be the end of today's Robbie Basel show. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to check out Footy Fridays. Should be out on Friday or Saturday. So make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss that show as well. But I'm Robbie Basil saying so long. Thank you so much for tuning into the Robbie Basil Show on RBTV. See you guys next time. Goodbye, everyone.